Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, joined by two of the best in the industry at diagnosing injuries and getting you prepared for this massive 14-game slate. It's Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy and Mike Gallagher from Established Run. Justin, how are you on this fine holiday Friday?
Great. Obviously a massive injury slate, and we just right when we're about to get on, a bunch of Heat news dropped, and we got Clint Capella dental pain season. So just adding to our already heavy workload.
Yeah, just a mess. Gallagher, you've got a working, functioning desk in front of you today, so you're excited. How are you?
Yep, I'm great. I'm in Palm Springs, and my girlfriend's family, they're watching the World Cup game right now. So I'm kind of tucked in the corner. Don't have any access to a table that unless I move the whole thing. So this is my desk for the show. It's real nice. It's
Nice.
like
Nice.
on my lap.
Hopefully that treasure chest has all the answers for the injuries
Yeah.
that we
Yes, it
need
does.
tonight. All right, we have got 14 games. We've got a ton of injuries, so let's kind of get into it from the start here. Let's start with the Heat news that just dropped. So Bam Adebayo going to be available. They're going to be without Duncan Robinson still. They had already listed Jimmy Butler out. Caleb Martin gets listed as doubtful now. We've seen the Heat playing really shorthanded for a week or two now. Justin, what are your thoughts on how the new news, especially Caleb Martin's absence, impacts the rotation tonight?
Okay, so Tyler Hero, Gabe Vincent, Dwayne Dedmon, they're all still questionable. They all played on Wednesday. Would expect them to go again. I'm looking right now at a 9-man rotation right now, projecting the starters to be Lowry, Hero, Strus, Jovic, Bam, and then the bench being Vincent, Highsmith, Dedmon, and Jamal Cain if he's available. He's questionable. So they might be actually down to 8. We'll see on them. Strus last game, he's been all over the place. Went from out to questionable to out and got upgraded today from doubtful to questionable. So I think he has a good chance of coming back for this one. But yeah, I think should be like an 8 or 9-man rotation. They're going to continue to play short. This Caleb Martin doubtful thing kind of came out of nowhere. Was expecting him to start. He played massive minutes last game. Played pretty well. Didn't hear anything about him being hurt, and then he just suddenly pops up on the injury report now as doubtful. That's a little surprising. So just trying to gain our bearings and redo these Heat projections, and they always seem to be short now. I thought today at the start we were finally going to see a 10-man rotation out of that, and then Caleb's doubtful, Jamal Cain's questionable. It just continues to be decimated for that Heat side.
Yeah, Spoelstra was talking about it being Caleb triple-double season soon in his post-game presser for running more triple handoffs. They use them in such a different amount of ways. Also worth noting, he talked to Jamal Cain a lot. He said he likes how he rebounds the ball. He saw he had 6 rebounds in 18 minutes, and he likes him there. So it'd be curious to see if they go with Jovic, who basically was the, as Dink likes to call it, the Keith Bogan's role. Start a half, done. That's kind of what he did there. So I think that makes sense, right? You want your rookie out there with your better players. So I'm with you on Jovic probably starting in. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Cain, because Cain's played pretty well when they called on him. But yeah, pretty much agree everywhere else.
Yeah, the big thing, you can't do the Bogan's role if you don't have enough bodies. So we'll see what the Heat have tonight. Let's move it over to LA and the Lakers, where LeBron got this questionable tag once again, but Chris Haynes had noted that he expects LeBron to return on Friday. Anthony Davis is listed as probable as always. Justin, any read beyond Chris Haynes' tweet here on LeBron's availability tonight?
Yeah, Haynes said he would play. So, and he's questionable and injured, but we landed somewhere in the middle. So we marked him probable, expected to play as of now. We're waiting for the upgrade. So would expect LeBron back in the lineup. And we have that projected starting lineup being LeBron, Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker, Troy Brown Jr., and Anthony Davis, with that bench being Russ, Schroeder, Thomas Bryant, Wenyen Gabriel, JTA, Kendrick Nunn, and Max Christie. Max Christie back out of the protocols available today. So I think the story here is just AD the last 5 games. He's just been on a rampage without LeBron James, averaging 33 and 17, 69 FanDuel points per game in those 5 games. And obviously he's going to take a bit of a step back now with LeBron expected to be back in the lineup. I don't have a ton to add. I think we've seen a pretty good sample of these guys together. They're just kind of rotating bench players at this point with, Kendrick Nunn, Max Christie, Thomas Bryant back in the lineup, JTA. They're just the main pieces are pretty much the same tonight. How much of an impact and a step back do we kind of see AD taking tonight with LeBron expected to be back in the lineup?
Yeah, I'll just add, I agree 100% on the lineup. I think they do start small. You don't need the size, obviously, against Sohan at the 4. So with you there, and I mean, they're running so much offense through him. He's just been a madman on the glass, as you mentioned too. So he probably has to take a step back. But yeah, as you mentioned, with Haynes is pretty much on the LeBron beat. He's got all the info he needs. So, like you say, I'd be really surprised if that's wrong, to put it that way. But he's going to take a step back. He kind of has to. But I mean, this matchup is so good. It's one of my favorite ones to attack for center. So, the rates may come down, but he may just maul again. He's just been out of this world good. And should mention, hit his funny bone. Everyone was freaking out during the game too. We saw him on the ground. We saw LeBron get off the bench to check him out. He said he felt numb after the game. So curious if that affects him. Didn't get listed on the injury report except for that back tightness, which is basically the equivalent of his 100% tag. Just wanted to note those things as well.
Yeah, 80 was like mid-20s in usage to start the season. This recent stretch with LeBron out, he's been like mid-30s. Like he's hit 37, 37, 38, like 3 of the last 4 games. Like his usage has been out of control.
Yeah, it's something we'll talk more behind the paywall tonight on the DFS show in terms of how that impacts things. But the projections certainly are not going to like Anthony Davis as much as he's been performing of late, given LeBron's likely return. Let's get into some questionable tags. Let's start with the Wizards, who seemingly each and every night of the NBA season, every time we talk about the Miami Heat, I feel like we're talking about the Washington Wizards as well. So here we go again with all these questionable tags. I don't know how many times one team can play the other in a 7-day span, but Washington and Miami are doing it once again. And there's questionable tags on Beal, Monty Morris, Rui Hachimura. Once again, we saw them play without most of these guys the other night, and Kyle Kuzma went nuts. What is your expectation here? Mike, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it should be pretty good, right? We saw them go game time, and they were ruled out right before, so that's usually an indication they're getting pretty close. So I think it's better than 50% chance that they're going to play. I think Beal's injury is the worst, honestly, because they had to further evaluate him. But he plays through some stuff. Well, earlier in his career, he played through stuff. Lately, he kind of hasn't. So, yeah, almost certainly getting game times again. But I think Monty's probably a little bit closer than the other 2 guys. But, you never know. So I'm leaning all those guys do play, which obviously, like I mentioned in the last slate, again, it's crazy how much they're playing the Wizards. But yeah, like we talked about this too. You guys kind of covered it too on the DFS show. Man, just guys who can create their own shot against the Miami Heat to bust up the zone. I mean, just big use. That's how you beat the zone. Just give it to your best player and let him rip it up. And that was Kuzma by a lot. I mean, 27 shots. Didn't even shoot it great. He could have had a huge game. So yeah, good call on your guys' part there. So if Beal's out again, I mean, let's go back to the well. I think Kuzma could really pop off, possibly even better than he did last game.
Any notes there, Justin, on likely availability for the Washington guys?
So I'm maybe just a little bit more pessimistic than Mike is on their possibility of playing. All 3 are limited in shoot around this morning, and they will be game time decisions tonight, expected to be according to Wes Unseld Jr. So we kind of see this stuff lingering, and Beal's showing a propensity to miss games. I think they have some point guard depth now with Jordan Goodwin, where they can afford to maybe be cautious with Monty Morris. So it wouldn't surprise me if one or both these guys miss again. I think they're closer to true 50-50 for me personally, just given, the history here and the comments this morning from Unseld. But yeah, I mean, Kristaps, I mean, it was so concentrated, the usage last game between KP and Kuzma. It was basically KP and Kuzma are both like 30+% usage, and then none of the other starters were above 15%. So those 2 should continue to be the focal points of the offense. Would know Jordan Goodwin played 25 minutes in his spot start. I think he's still kind of limited. He was still dealing with that knee soreness coming back. So I'm a little wary of him ramping up too much, even if Beal and Monty are out again tonight. And we saw, Will Barton play a ton off the bench. They have him as an option as well. So would be a little cautious with the expectations for Goodwin, though really good to see him get a start.
On the Charlotte side of things, Gordon Hayward is questionable. Once again, they're still without LaMelo Ball. And Dennis Smith Jr. got hurt last game, so they've been short a little bit of ball handling stuff. Cody Martin's still out as well. Any read on Gordon Hayward? Gallagher, I know he's often taking his time to get back from injuries.
Yeah, I mentioned on the last slate, I was surprised he didn't get the Q tag last game. He wasn't on the report. He had a big old a lot of pieces of K tape on his shoulder. So we saw him get aggravated 2 games ago. I think it's a chance he misses. This is something he was playing through. He's missed time with it. We know Hayward misses a lot of time. So Decent chance he misses. Obviously, missing Dennis Smith Jr., they're kind of forced to go to Jalen McDaniels. His brother is playing extremely well in a matchup against each other, a McDaniels Bowl. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. So I think Hayward does have a decent chance to miss this one because he's been playing through it. And it's been bothering him. Clifford said it's been bothering him a bit. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're 5-14. I think like no real point to be pushing it. And I mean, he's clearly dealing. I was like shocked that he wasn't on the injury report for Wednesday at all. Before aggravating it. And then we'll note that Terry Rozier, assuming this one can stay close, has a massive minutes floor. We saw him on Wednesday with LaMelo out and DSJ getting hurt, play 40.4 minutes. And then last Friday, they were also out without LaMelo and DSJ as well. He played 39 minutes. So his minutes can really get up there in this one without LaMelo and DSJ. And then the usage has, some upside and some ceiling there too with Hayward limited or potentially out. So really good floor on Rozier today.
On the other side of that game, Rudy Gobert was listed questionable along with Kyle Anderson. The Gobert one came up kind of out of nowhere. What are your thoughts here, Justin, on Gobert and slow-mo?
I mean, midday Q tag, is never really ever a good thing. So, they were pretty consistent. They've been giving us injury reports. We had a whole day off yesterday where he wasn't even listed, and I think it's an ankle sprain for him. Yep. So that's a little concerning. And they could be pretty thin tonight. They don't have Taurean Prince or Jordan McLaughlin. Kyle Anderson's still questionable and dealing with his issue. It gets dicey here real quick. So we saw Naz Reid get a DNP-CD on Wednesday, and he might just go from DNP-CD to starting if Gobert has to miss. They have Nathan Knight, I guess, providing front court depth too. We'll note that they sent Luka Garza to the G League along with AJ Lawson and Minot. Wendell Moore Jr. is the one who's staying with the Wolves, so he will provide some depth. It looks like he was insurance for Kyle Anderson before all this on the for the forward spot. So man, we saw last game, Finch ran with a 9-man rotation. And it gets pretty thin. Like if you take out Anderson and Prince, it's like Jalen Noel, Austin Rivers, Bryn Forbes, Nathan Knight, and then Naz Reid might have to start. This is going to be a tight rotation with big minutes for the starters if these guys like Anderson and Gobert end up missing.
I think Anderson's got a good shot to play. We've seen him play through this Q tag with back spasm, which he's had for over a week. So I think it's just a precautionary tag. Tilting the Gobert one. I bet Wolves 3.5 yesterday, so it's just never going to go well for me when I bet the Wolves. And I actually got a lot of it moved to 5.5, so I got some before the Gobert news. But I was shocked to see that. I bet the Wolves last game, and I was watching that game really close. I don't see anything happen to Gobert. No. And worth noting as well, and this is funny for Dink to hear, Finch drew up the first play. You saw Gobert, they drew up a play to get Gobert the ball. Like, oh yeah, we felt bad about no field goals the last game. They really integrated him to go for a really big game in a great spot too. We love attacking the Hornets. So and again, a lot of cat. He's going to be, just play a ton. He's been way bigger involvement in the offense. Good matchup for him as well. So I don't know if they would go to Minot and those guys. I thought Austin Rivers gave them really good minutes. It didn't really pop on the stat sheet and the plus minus one, but he made an impact on the game when that second unit can slip and third quarters it slips. Go ahead.
And they'll need his defense too. You look at the number. It's not surprising Gobert makes such a big impact defensively, but you look at the on-off splits and the percentage that they allow around the rim, especially when Gobert's on the court versus off the court, it is massive. So, if Gobert ends up missing, it also improves the outlook on the other side for the Charlotte guys as well.
Yeah, and just to add on, just with the Rozier thing, his matchup sucks. He's going to get a lot of Jaden McDaniels. If you remember back in the rookie seasons, I was like, oh, is McDaniels almost as good as Ant? Because Ant was off to a terrible start. We're there again. Because McDaniels has been awesome. He's been if I did ranking defenders I don't want to face against, he's probably at the top of the list. He's just been taking dudes out of their games entirely. So a little bit dicey for Rozier today with McDaniels on him.
He'd also be at the top of my list of guys that I thought you would have as your guys when we did a My Guys draft, and he's not. So it's a shame. He's unclaimed as we head into the season.
Oh, you're fab.
All right, more injury information. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Jrue Holiday's probable there. Serge Ibaka, Pat Connaughton with questionable tags. Connaughton, the questionable tag right after just getting back is a little disappointing. Any read here, Justin?
No, we've talked about Connaughton on the show before. Like they upgraded him. He was on injury report, then got downgraded again. He's just like they're being super cautious. They're setting like Chris Middleton and some of these other guys back and forth to the G League now, like 4 or 5 times, and taking their time with those guys. So I mean, they have the depth. Like Marjon Beauchamp is not in the rotation. He got DNP-CD, and that's a guy who was really showing well, a couple of weeks ago, and they can just slide him back in the rotation if need be, right? So I don't think there's a lot of impactful news for my end on the Bucks side. I think it's pretty, they're pretty deep to where, I think being cautious with Connaughton, holding him out, they're not losing a ton at this point.
Yeah, Beauchamp got really nuked by Jrue Holiday. Yeah, I was just going to say that Beauchamp would probably come back in, but he wouldn't play too much. They like George Hill. They used George Hill quite a bit down the stretch in the last 2 games. So he's kind of back in, and on defense. He was guarding the ball like way more than I'm used to. So he's kind of a guy that I would expect to play a little bit more. Grayson played a bunch of minutes. Jrue Holiday's minutes got completely up to normal. I think he played 28 2 games ago. Comes up and gets his full 36 again in a really tough loss against the Bulls, which we'll get to shortly.
Any worries about that Jrue Holiday probable tag?
Of course.
We might just go through the whole gamut. I mean, we've seen it so many times. Probable game time decision, right? I mean, the Bucks haven't been quite the Bucks this season. We saw it with Giannis. I think it was Drew that had that happen earlier this season, where his probable game time decision played. Right? I think he went through it. So it's just kind of a Milwaukee thing.
Brooke had one.
Yeah, Brooke had one. Yep.
All right, let's go to New Orleans. Trey Murphy is questionable. CJ McCollum has been listed as out with health and safety protocols. Any read on Trey Murphy here tonight, Justin?
No, I think they're being cautious. I wouldn't be surprised if he missed another one in this one too, and they have the depth to kind of make up for his loss. So they're getting they have Zion back. It lessens the need for really to have Trey Murphy in there. But yeah, we saw Jose Alvarado get the start on Wednesday for CJ McCollum, play 30 minutes. Devontae 28, Dyson Daniels 22. Would say that a little asterisk on this is Herb Jones got in a bunch of foul trouble in the first half. Got 3 fouls, only played like 10.5 minutes. I think that really opened up the door for a little bit more Devontae. I think Devontae played like 17.5 minutes in the first half on Wednesday, which is crazy. But you look at all the data with CJ off the court, Zion's been the biggest beneficiary by far. Plus 5.6% usage rate differential, leads all players. And then, we saw that come into fruition on Wednesday against the San Antonio 33% usage rate in that spot. So without CJ again today, Zion should get a huge workload. Once again, and the minutes were solid. They usually 27 there, but it was a 19-point blowout. So, his minutes are back to normal as well.
Yeah, and worth noting too, we saw the last time these guys played, their centers went like out of it. We saw like a lot of Brandon Clark and Larry Nance. So just want to know that as well. And yeah, Zion just, I mean, this is just going back to AD. AD gets his first defense. Like he's just going to go off.
Yeah.
But and just a random note. I'm where I'm staying. One street over is Alvarado Road, and then another one's Rubio Road. So I'm loving all these points. I'm loving this neighborhood. But so this is like my kind of place, right? I may not have a desk, but at least I have cool street names.
You got to watch out for the sneak attacks walking down Alvarado Road. That's all.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll get mugged on Alvarado Road for sure.
But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
You mentioned the centers for Memphis and New Orleans last time these two teams played. Well, Steven Adams is questionable with illness. John Conchar also questionable. Santi Aldama doubtful here. So some potential depth issues for the Grizzlies, who are already without Desmond Bane. Any read on Steven Adams' likelihood of playing tonight, Justin?
I mean, another midday ad with the Q tag with the illness. I always just generally lean that Steven Adams is going to play through stuff. He's just one of the toughest guys in the league. He severely sprains his ankle. He's playing through it next game, comes back. And so just because it's Steven Adams, I would lean towards him playing, though historically the Q tag is not a good thing. And obviously, Aldama already being doubtful is a big blow to their front court if Adams is out as well. So in the case that both of them miss, we should get the spot start for Brandon Clark and then more David Roddy, Jake LaRavia off the bench as well. Maybe some Xavier Tillman. They are playing a bigger front court today with Zion and Valanciunas. So maybe we see like 5 to 10 minutes of Tillman. They really don't like to use him that much. So wouldn't expect a ton from him. But if those guys are out, we'll see some Jaren at center too, and would like some look at some Jaren over rebounds props, some Jaren double props as well. He should really benefit sliding over to center, if Adams is out.
Yeah, they would have to go 9, right? I mean, Jenkins, we've seen him a couple times break that 10-man thing he's so stuck on. So if you're missing both, they'd have to, like you said, bring in a little bit of Tillman, but would probably expect a little bit of Tyus overlap just because the Phil minutes that way. They seem to like they've kind of we've seen Roddy kind of get more minutes when they're shorthanded than LaRavia. I think they view Roddy more as like a wing, and LaRavia is more of like a straightforward with a little bit of 3 to him. So that's maybe, I think now that they're short front court, I think LaRavia could be a guy that benefits a little bit more in this situation.
All right, let's move to the Nuggets. We saw the Nuggets of old last game where there was no Jamal Murray, there was no Michael Porter Jr., and Jokic against OKC just went nuts with usage in the first half. No Bones Highland still. Michael Porter Jr. is questionable tonight. Ish Smith also questionable on the injury report. And then Jamal Murray is no longer listed on the injury report. Is Jamal back?
He kind of rested the last game.
It was like a back-to-back, I think, but he just rested the second leg, so I think he's totally back and fine, so wouldn't worry about him at all.
Okay, perfect. So Michael Porter Jr. and Ish, the big questionable tags here. Justin, any added information you have on the Nuggets?
I don't have a ton here on MPJ. There hasn't been too much detail. Mike, have you seen anything on
no.
Like he has that heel contusion, right? Just haven't seen too much. So,
I think it was back-to-back related.
Maybe
so. I'm expecting him to play.
Okay. Yeah, I mean he's at the second leg too, so along with Jamal. So I think that kind of makes sense that both of them are back this game after you played that first leg. So I mean I don't have any expectation of any restrictions for any of these guys. Jokic and Jamal, they were coming out of the health and safety protocols, that the conditioning that Jamal sat the second leg, he should be fine. Jokic as well. His injury isn't even conditioning related. It's I believe it's like a hip for him. So I think all those guys should be good to go.
All right, and then they're playing the Clippers, who are without Kawhi and Paul George. Once again, we did not see the Wall Rjax overlap to start the game. We saw Amir Coffey slide into the starting lineup. Gallagher, you are the Clippers expert on these starting lineup predictions, as you had Coffey is for starters, not just for closers. What are your thoughts on how the Clippers handle the matchup tonight with Jokic, who's given them a lot of problems? Zubats has really struggled with Jokic in the past.
Yeah, they probably would bring in some Moses Brown. We've seen spots where Lou wants to bring him in to fill some minutes behind Zubats. Expect a little bit of that. But yeah, Zoo could play a pretty good bit here. They really like him. They're running a ton. And Lou also mentioned without PG and Kawhi, they're just going to run point guard pick and roll with Zoo as like their foundation by a lot. So a defense that's been struggling. So I could expect to see the Clippers step up. But yeah, we should see, they're going to need not as much. The on-ball defense isn't as important. So we saw Coffey and Mann pick up a bunch of minutes against the Warriors. I would expect that to scale back just a bit. Maybe they keep Covington in. That was kind of a bad matchup for Wall, so I would expect a little bit more overlap there. Game did get away from him too, so that kind of hurt him as well. So I would expect a little bit more Wall minutes and just scale back just a bit on the Amir Coffey, which we saw so much of in the last game.
Any other notes there, Justin?
Nope, totally agree. I would expect them to run back the same lineup and play a little bit bigger with Zubac and Moses together. Not together on the same court at the same time, but
Filling the 48, most of the 48.
Most of the 48.
Let's move to Indiana, where Andrew Nembhard and Isaiah Jackson are both questionable here. And I think it's interesting to talk about Indiana just generally because obviously losing Isaiah Jackson hurts the front court depth. They've played without that of late, but they've also been willing to play smaller of late. We've seen Jalen Smith losing minutes down the stretch. So any read here on Isaiah Jackson and Andrew Nembhard's availability tonight, Justin?
No, that's another one where what we got the alarm for? We got the alarm for the low 2:30 injury report, or
of course. Thank you for the detail. Of course, how many people would know that? Of like, if my phone went off at 11:28 my time, how many people is that for the injury report? Like, probably like you count on one hand. But
I have alarms set for like every hour or two for injury reports.
Of course, you have to. We're the only two people crazy enough to do that.
No, I don't have much detail on those guys. Gallagher, do you have anything on Nemhard or Isaiah Jackson?
Oh no, Nemhard played through it at first, and then he got was really uncomfortable with it. So they've been holding him out. He's had some time off, so he suffered the injury, I believe last Friday. So he's had a week now. So I think he's got a chance to play. But I think Neesmith's taking his minutes.
Yeah.
It's a spot where they're going to want size, right? In that spot. Actually, I take that back. Because against Kyrie, yeah, I think they would actually start Nemhard if he can go and put him on Kyrie, and rest in peace, Jalen Smith. So they would honestly, like as you were saying, I could see O'Shea Brissett really cutting into Jalen Smith's minutes to put Brissett on Kevin Durant. So yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Miles Turner just hammers right now. And expect a big Halliburton bounce back. He had the worst matchup against McDaniels. We expect a nice bounce back from him too.
Speaking of ball handlers, Detroit might be short a ton of them. They're already without Cade Cunningham on the injury report today. Jaden Ivey, Killian Hayes, also Hamidou Diallo as well. Justin, any thoughts on what ball handlers we will have available for Detroit tonight? Or are we just getting 40 minutes of Corey Joseph like we all hoped and dreamed on Black Friday?
We all want 40 minutes of Corey Joseph at 5% usage. That's the dream. So obviously Killian Hayes left last game, didn't return. I think he has a good chance of missing this one. Don't have a ton on Jaden Ivey, but man, I mean, could be a lot of Corey Joseph. Alec Burks, I think, is really interesting. We saw the usage for him the last 4 games. Really, I mean, his usage just in general this season has been super high, like 30% last game. I think 39% the game before 30. Like he can easily get that usage, especially if Ivy is out of the lineup. So Corey Joseph will get the a good amount of minutes, but Alec Burks is the one I'm interested in, just given his role as of late off that bench.
Yeah, we talked about Alec Burks a lot last week on Thursday, and he was crappy. And then ever since he's been just going off. Yeah, I'm with you. And just to add some more detail here, Casey said after the game that Killian Hayes strained his calf. So you'd think he's for sure missing.
Yeah.
No mention of Ivy post game, so I think he's got a pretty good chance to play, but I think he covered the rest.
The Knicks, Cam Reddish, Mitch Robinson, Derrick Rose, all listed questionable. It's pretty interesting to project the Knicks minutes right now because we saw Quentin Grimes, the minutes have exploded when Reddish and Rose have both been unavailable, but they were really modest when they were both available. I think Grimes has probably earned enough of a role. I don't know if he's earned the start if Reddish is healthy. Any thoughts there, Mike?
I think Reddish has an inside track. I mean, he was playing really well before he pulled his groin muscle, so I'd expect him to probably get the start if he can go. The next question is, do they go 9 again? Like you see a 10-man rotation, but that's because they use 3 for the center spot. So it was essentially a 9-man, which Tibbs likes. He's gone to it pretty much for over a week now. That's the next question. Is Reddish kind of running out? I think it makes sense given that he's coming off an injury. If he starts, they'd run it back to 10 because he mentioned that the reason why they went to 9 was to help Reddish. That was like kind of stunningly the answer from Tibbs, which I believe him. Although this is a guy who says that Jericho Sims is a great passer, but yeah, I think we would probably project 10 if Reddish is in, just because he's coming off injury.
Yeah, I'll add some context on these 3 guys. So Tibbs said Mitchell Robinson and Derrick Rose went through most of practice on Wednesday. Cam Reddish only went through some of practice. So Corey Joseph just got added questionable. So another question for the Pistons. Alec Burks might be playing 45 minutes tonight with 30% usage, guys. I mean, it might be an Alec Burks night.
I'm so in.
So back to the Knicks. So Mitch and Rose went through most of practice on Wednesday. Cam Reddish only went through some of practice on Wednesday. So I think just given that, it looks like Mitch and Rose have a better shot at playing tonight than Cam Reddish. And Mitch, I think, he's just like perpetually an injury risk now. And you have that 3-headed monster at center between Mitch and Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein to where just want really no part of it. Rose coming back obviously adds, it would take Deuce McBride's minutes. But yeah, we'll see on Reddish. Like I said, only went through summer practice on Wednesday. So I think he has a decent shot of missing this one again. And we see a good amount of Quentin Grimes.
You'll notice we went back-to-back there with the Pistons and the Knicks on the injury report there. 2 teams that went 2-0 through the altitude road trip of Utah and Denver. Shockingly, not the two teams you would think to go 2-0 through that trip, but they both did it. Let's move on to Portland.
Detroit's in Phoenix too. I can't go to watch Alec Burks night and Phoenix, man. It's sad.
It's
sad
too
to see.
bad.
I do have the cool street names, but a little sad I can't see Alec Burks in person.
It's too bad. Drew Eubanks questionable for Portland tonight. We've seen him play pretty well off the bench and at times limit Yusuf Nurkic's minutes. What are your thoughts on Eubanks' availability tonight, Gallagher?
Don't have much. I don't know if you saw anything, fan.
Nope.
Did you? Nope. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I didn't see what happened there. But yeah, they would probably run. Watford's been more of a 4 than a 5. I think they would probably be open to running him as a 5. Certainly. This kind of makes you wonder if Winslow's going to start again, right? Because we saw Winslow start, which shout out to me because it was against the Cavs. But Billups said after the game he did like this lineup for physicality reasons. So I would expect Winslow to start. So I think they would go Watford as kind of like maybe 65% of the non-Nurk minutes without Eubanks, and then you could still run some of the Winslow center stuff that they've closed with, including against Sabonis. But yeah, I don't have a great read on Eubanks besides stuff I said.
Yeah, I would say that they're facing the Knicks, and the Knicks are basically playing like 3 centers right now, and so would bump Nurkic's minutes projection for sure if Eubanks has to sit, just given they don't really have any traditional center behind them. They're running a combination like Winslow and Watford and just plugging guys in. So we'll like Nurkic's minutes projection quite a bit if Eubanks is out.
And then the last questionable tag to talk about, one that is giving me probably as much pain as it's giving him, Clint Capella with the dental pain after we take an Onyeka Okongwu under tonight. Very painful turn of events for us. Capella still not officially, well, I guess maybe at the 2:30 report, was not officially listed on the 1:30 report, came after that. Any thoughts on availability here tonight? Justin, do you have any experience with extreme dental pain and how that might impact your ability to play?
I mean, this is another midday Q tag. This is pretty late in the day for it to get added. So pretty dicey for him. And we would see Okongwu get the start. They'd play some Collins there. We see a little bit more AJ Griffin off the bench. He's carved out a really nice role, played really well down the stretch. That OT game for them recently, and then some more Jalen Johnson as well. Kaminsky would get back in the rotation as well. He saw some spot minutes recently when they were a little short. So obviously Okongwu would be the biggest winner from all that.
Yeah, good matchup for him too. Against, I mean, what a spot. We'd be cooked on that one for sure. On that,
we'd be cooked very immediately. Because on the Houston side of things, Alperen Şengün is doubtful. Eric Gordon is doubtful. Bruno Fernando, we think is going to come back tonight. Josh Christopher probable. Jalen Green probable. How would the rotation look without Gordon and Şengün? Gallagher, I'll give you first attempt.
Yeah, so let me pull up my notes because Silas, and pull up the box score first. But Silas had a bunch of quotes talking about who was limited, who was full.
Yeah.
Let me grab that super quick. Lost it. Hold on 1 second. He said that Gordon was full, so resting. Jalen Green was limited. Şengün didn't practice. Christopher was limited. And Bruno Fernando, he was interviewed as well post-practice. And from what I gathered, it was playing one of the 2 games. And given the way Şengün is now leading out, I think he starts. So I would expect Bruno. And we saw Bruno really lock down minutes early in the season. So I'd expect him to start, have a little bit of a cap because that knee injury was pretty severe. So he'd probably be looking at low 20 minutes. We probably wouldn't see too much of the Jabari Smith center minutes. And, we'll see a little bit of Usman Garuba behind him. No Eric Gordon. So I would assume
KJ.
Well, actually, they don't have. Yeah, I would assume KJ regardless, but I was trying to think if it's both. KJ for sure benefits in a big way.
Yeah.
Then if it's so I think it would be if everybody's out, it would be Green, KPJ. Well, I'm assuming Green in. He was limited to practice, so that's worth noting. KJ, Jabari, and then Bruno.
Yep.
A little bit more.
Yeah. So Bruno, the expectation is going to sit one of the games of the back-to-back. So he's going to play tomorrow or today and then sit the other game, right? So I think it's going to be today that he sits tomorrow. And this is the spot against Atlanta that he got his first spot start. He entered the starting lineup initially, I think October 19th. So revenge spot for him. He played well in that spot. So I think I'm pretty sure he's starting tonight with in place of Şengün. We'll see some Garuba there as well. So yeah, I think Garrison Matthews, Josh Christopher get back in the rotation now with Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's actually out; he's not doubtful, he's out. And then Tari Eason, Dink's guy, starting to get his minutes ramped back up over the last 4, 15 to 18 to 19 to 23, and they're shorthanded tonight too without Eric Gordon. So he's on the right trajectory, on the come up. So should see like mid-20s. I think is a good bet for him in this spot. He's played well in his limited minutes. So excited to see more Tari Eason.
I was waiting for one of you to get there. I'm glad Justin did. It is Tari Eason night. They're comfortable playing him at center. So, if they're shorthanded at this spot, look for big rebound numbers from Tari Eason tonight. Let's go to the Cavs, where Lamar Stevens and Kevin Love are likely to miss tonight. They did get Dean Wade back last game, so a little bit more depth, but challenged without Karis LeVert as well. Those 3 and 4 spots getting a little depth challenge for the Cavs. Gallagher, how do you think they handle the absence of Lamar Stevens tonight?
Gallagher, come correct. Please don't disappoint me again.
Dude, I was hiking this morning, man.
Oh my God. Okay, so Dean Wade.
Did I do it again?
Dean Wade starter's jersey. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I'm done.
You had one job.
Fan. Yeah,
amazing.
I feel sad. My desk pretty much sums up how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, just turn that in. Just turn that whole desk in. We'll see if you're back on Monday. So Dean Wade starting tonight. Justin, what are your expectations on how that impacts the rotation?
I'm done.
They're going to be thin without Lamar Stevens too. LeVert's out, so a good amount of Isaac Okoro, good amount of Jetty Osman. They don't have a ton of depth on that backhand rotation like Howell Neto. They're not going to play a ton of him. So yeah, it's just going to be a lot of those 3 guys kind of filling in with Dean Wade and Okoro and Jetty Osman.
It seems like a situation where they are more one of the teams that is more likely to just condense things than add players because they are very comfortable. JB seems very comfortable letting guys get up into the upper 30s, letting bench players play into the mid 20s. So you could see really, really tight rotation from Cleveland tonight. All right.
Yeah, there it is. There's a starter's jersey. I'm looking at it right now.
Unbelievable, Gallagher.
Yeah, I'm so canceled, dude.
They don't play until Sunday, so they got a day off, so they can afford it.
There he is.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Amazing. All right, let's finish out with Goran Dragic, who's ruled out for Chicago, and how that impacts things.
I think he just got upgraded. I didn't see.
What just happened?
Upgraded, right? He's questionable now.
Yeah, he's questionable now? Okay. The midday upgrade, finally. Yeah. So Goran Dragic, any thoughts here, Justin?
No, I mean, looks good. I mean, it's like neck pain or something.
Stinger. Yeah, he has stinger.
Stinger. I think he should be back in the rotation, playing, mid-teens, upper teens in terms of minutes. I obviously midday upgrade is a good sign.
Yeah. Donovan was concerned initially, so yeah, he should be good to go. So that obviously is interesting because we saw Kobe White close over Ayo Dosunmu and hit some big shots in it, and probably their biggest win of the season. Bulls are playing a lot better now, much to the chagrin of some of our unders there.
Yeah. I think we're still feeling pretty good about those. But yeah, it does open up more pass because, as you alluded to as well, and correctly called, they like playing Goran Dragic and Derrick Jones Jr. together. So when Goran Dragic was out, we saw things really tighten up to a straight 9-man. It's possible that they get back to a full 10 or even maybe a partial 11 if they're going to try to get Derrick Jones Jr. in there. And so Dragic, whenever he's available, it puts in some downside for Dosunmu, Kobe White, Alex Caruso, Patrick Williams, some guys you wouldn't necessarily think. And in this case, Javonte Green as well, because you could just see a situation where Derrick Jones Jr. gets precedent over Javonte Green because of the pairing that they like with Goran Dragic. So a lot of fringe stuff for the Bulls for DFS purposes probably doesn't impact you. But I will note that Goran Dragic is a high usage rate guy. So just in terms of adding him back into the mix, if he takes minutes away from someone like Caruso, that would compress some of the usage around DeRozan and Levine and Vooch as well.
Yeah, you nailed it. Like replacing Caruso and Patrick Williams minutes and their low usage roles with Goran Dragic minutes is definitely a bit of a difference and can affect some rates and some projections for sure.
Yeah. All right. That is going to do it. Before we get out of here, make sure to support the people who support us. This show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money running in addition to many formats of NFL contests still running for huge prizes. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers of ETR can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their game. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. Make sure to support the underdogs. Also, if you're interested in supporting us, you can catch us behind the paywall today at 5 o'clock Eastern time with myself and I believe Cash Game Gary. It might be Gallagher, actually.
It's me,
I have to look at our calendar. Yeah, it is you. I remember there was something around Thanksgiving we switched. So with myself and Deskless Gallagher at 5 o'clock Eastern time behind the paywall. If you're uninterested in joining us for any of our premium content during the course of the season, that's sad for you. We're up 55 units betting props so far this year. And DFS, we're getting screenshots left and right. So consider joining us. But if not, if you're against paying for premium content, at least pay with your clicks and your attention. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button to feed the algo. The algo had nothing going on Thanksgiving. So the algo needs the leftovers from yesterday. So you got to feed the algo.
Gallagher, Cavs Magic next Friday.
I already looked it up. I looked it up. I was ready. I wanted to get in there. I literally just looked at the schedule on my phone. I'm not lying. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to put an alarm on my
with starter jersey. I'm sick of doing your job.
I'm canceled if I don't come correct next time. God.
It's amazing. If you don't give us enough likes, Mike can't afford to look for starter jerseys. It's a whole issue here. So make sure to hit that like button, feed the algo. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend. We'll be back on Monday with another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Take care, everybody.